Next up is one of Jimi Hendrix's most loved compositions and most incredible guitar performances, Little Wing. On this song, Jimi demonstrated his utter mastery and complete genius in the style of R&B rhythm guitar, where he took elements of the style that came from before in the playing of guys such as Curtis Mayfield and Bobby Womack and Don Covey, and turned it into his own incredible thing. Here's the intro. All right, the intro begins with a very unusual figure, something that's sometimes referred to as a double octave. Jimi's got his thumb fretting the 12th fret of the low E string, and then he's got another E note 2 octaves higher, that's why it's called a double octave, on the high E string, and he goes. So he's hitting all the strings, barring across the 12th fret on the B and high E, and then the thumb gets these, but then between the bottom of the thumb and the other fingers, he's muting the in-between strings. Slides down, plays an open low E, and then plays a single note lick based roughly on the E minor pentatonic scale, and then moves to a G major chord, and then he uses his pinky to add notes in order to play a supplementary melody against the chord. Moves up to A. So you can see that these hammer-ons are a big part of the sound, where you would bar across 2 strings with your index finger and then hammer. Then he moves up to E minor 7th. And again, plays a little chord melody by shifting between 2 strings, often barred with the index finger, and then a single note played with the ring finger or the pinky. Moves to B minor. So you can see the pinky playing that melody. That's B flat. A little fast hammer pull to A minor. So the pinky's got to go up to the 9th fret there. Now here's a G, sus2 or G9. And he's going to slide that whole figure up a whole step to A, back to G, and then down to F. And one of the nice things is jumping and balancing back and forth between the low root notes and the high part of the chord. Then he plays an unusual C6 chord, where the middle finger gets the D and the G string at the 2nd fret. Moves up to D here at the 5th fret. Then there's the drum fill and another one of these into the first verse. Okay, here it is played slowly. All right, here's the Little Wing first verse. And you'll see how Jimi alters a lot of these figures just ever so slightly. All right, on this first verse, Jimi begins just doing a trill on the D string, hammering to the second fret, the E note. Then he goes back and forth between the two E notes, down to G, and then here, this kind of a nice figure. It's another way to play a G sus2, like with that A note on top, but here he's got the A note here. Moves to that A minor shape, and again plays. And then the same E minor 7, but here he goes, which is kind of nice. 8th fret, 7th, 7th, to B minor, and then he plays like a full melody here. Down to B flat. And then this is kind of interesting. Moving back and forth between F and E on the A string while barring 5th fret on the D and G. So he plays the G chord, a little sus4 for a second, by adding the pinky on the 5th fret of the G string. That's to that F sus2. And then again, that unusual C6 chord with the D and G strings both fretted with the middle finger, and ending with D. Here it is, played slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the second verse of Little Wing. All right, in this second verse, Jimi begins by picking the open low E and lets it ring for 2 beats. And then he plays these cool hammer-on licks that incorporate open strings. So while he's fretting a note on one string, he allows the one string higher, the adjacent string, to ring also. Slides this little double stop, which is really nice. Goes to A minor. And one of the interesting things is that he just keeps coming up with different variations of little melodies to add to the chords, and they all sound terrific. Bar 4, we get to E minor 7 again. And he just does a little hammer on. You get to B minor, to B flat. He doesn't really do anything special there, but on A minor he plays something cool. He goes, so you bar across the top two and do a quick pull off 7th fret to 5th fret on the B string. And there's those 2-note between barring with the index finger and adding a ring finger. Ends with that to G. Same sliding figure into C and into D. And at the end here, it's setting up the beginning of the guitar solo. He hits harmonics across the top 4 strings at the 12th fret. Depresses the tremolo arm and then brings it back up. Next up is the Little Wing outro guitar solo. And first, I'm going to show you how to play the rhythm guitar part that goes under the solo. Here it is. One, two, three, four. All right, the outro guitar solo is based on the E minor pentatonic scale, played primarily in 12th position. And Jimmy plays very melodically. He begins, which sounds like the opening line of the song, well, she's walking through the clouds. So it's very expressive and simple blues phrasing. And he kind of plays behind the B too, which gives it a dreamier feeling. Now right here is on B minor. So things like that have that cool Hendrix sound of glistening quickly up and down. And then here, really cool melody. This goes over A minor, but it sounds like G. And then that C. So it melodically resolves and creates a tension and resolution very nicely. And then you're over G there. So you got this kind of country lick of bending the second A up a whole step to the major third B with that high root note. So he's got this for G, and then over F, same thing, just moves it back a whole step. Then for C, he does those kind of licks he was doing in the rhythm guitar part. And this is kind of neat. He goes kind of a fancy lick of playing a complicated melody on the G string while holding these other notes. Or you can play a harmonic. Then back to E minor. All right, here it is played slowly.